internet is stupid here.
You mean you need to fix the internet?
No, I'm just saying it's stupid.
It's almost like we know the guy who does the internet.
What are we doing now?
I was going to play the opening music, but...
The internet is stupid?
Yeah, the internet is being dumb and uncooperative, and I hate it. Welcome to episode 16 of the Wizards of Pod podcast, a podcast of professional librarians talking about podcasts. My name is Dave, and with me are my co-hosts, Colleen and Sarah. So join us as we discuss new and noteworthy podcasts along with information pertaining to librarians and libraries in general. So Sarah, what have you been up to?
Nothing too crazy. I just came back from a week of vacation that started with my cousin getting married upstate. And after that, my boyfriend and I visited the Franklin D. and Eleanor Roosevelt home in Hyde Park, and we got to go through the Presidential Library and the little museum there. And I learned a lot that I forgot I learned in history class. And I realized how much I love Eleanor Roosevelt. She's a cool lady. I also got a cool water bottle that says a quote by her. It says, "The way to begin is to begin."
Nice.
Yeah. And then we stopped in Sleepy Hollow, which is just to see what it was like.
I want to go there so bad.
Yeah.
Is it cute?
It is cute. I mean, it's very city-like.
Oh.
And it's very hilly. And there's a lot of one-way streets, and Ken almost went through
The wrong way?
a wrong way, yeah. And it was funny because he was about to turn into a street, and behind us we hear a guy on the corner yelling, "Hey, hey, 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 hey!" No. And I got to visit the Warner Library that is like right in Sleepy Hollow and kind of on the edge of Sleepy Hollow and Tarrytown, which are like right next to each other. And it's beautiful. Yeah, and it overlooks the Hudson River Valley.
Pretty.
Yeah.
I think this is the second time this year that we've recorded right after you've come back from vacation.
It's special. Oh, right, because the last time was Disney, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Good times.
Very cool.
I'm very fortunate. Blessed.
You just know how to relax before the stress of this podcast.
Exactly. It's such a stressful time, honestly. So what about you, Colleen? What are you doing?
Well, I became an aunt for the first time.
Yay!
September and what month is it? October? Mid-September.
Yes.
Yes. He's almost a month old already. So that was very exciting. So I took a vacation quote, which was holding a newborn for a week. So that wasn't really a vacation. But my sister lives in North Carolina, so that was nice. Yeah. It was warm and pretty.
Nice. Whereabouts in North Carolina?
Wilmington.
I mean, is it, not to be specific, but
is
it like is it like central North Carolina? Is it by the coast?
Wilmington is by the coast.
Oh, okay, nice.
It's like near Wrightsville Beach. It is Wrightsville Beach.
That means nothing to me. I don't know. All I know is like there's one part with water and there's one part in the middle, and like in the middle I think is the Charlotte Raleigh.
Yeah, area. Or Raleigh. Charlotte's farther west, I think.
Well, the Raleigh-Durham
Airport.
Yes, Durham.
Yeah. She's in Wilmington, which, fun fact, they apparently have filmed a lot of like TV and movies there.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
Like in downtown Wilmington. One Tree Hill was filmed there.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, I remember you telling me that.
Yeah. Strange.
Very cool. So how does it feel to be an aunt?
It's good. He's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like him. I miss him.
Aw. Well, hopefully you see him for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, she's coming up with him, so
awesome.
That'll be good. Driving a tiny baby up 10 hours should be a delight for them.
Oh,
so.
yeah, that's going to be fun. I don't envy them.
2 dogs, tiny baby.
Oh, yeah. A lot of stops.
Yeah. Yeah. You do what you gotta do. It's their fault.
Yeah, chose to have a child.
I chose to get 2 dogs and have a baby, so what are you gonna do?
And live so far away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the dogs are staying with us for like a month. Well, my parents, not me, but dogs are getting dropped off. They're going away for a month with the baby. And
that's
the dogs
nice.
are staying with my parents. They're going to New Zealand, so I'm jealous.
Oh,
The baby's
oh my
first
goodness!
time
All right. So
out of state, out
does
of the country.
the baby has to get a passport?
Yeah. Yeah, you can't abduct children,
Hmm.
believe it or not. The baby
They
does
won't
need
let
a
you bring just a
passport.
random child on the flight with you.
I guess that's true. I think of it that way. It's like they can't do a signature when you're going to do like a footprint.
Well, the parents sign off.
Yeah,
for the,
right.
Yeah, on the infant ones.
Yeah.
He's going to meet his.
Footprint.
Yeah, just imagine little.
Now we have to ink your baby's foot, please.
Well, that's how they.
They do that, don't they?
Yeah,
I think
they do.
I think so, but with
Yeah.
other things.
When they're
Not-
born, they
Yeah, not
stab
with the
their little
passports.
feet.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I
found
remember
out.
that with my kids, or at least
Oh.
one of them.
I didn't know that they did blood work through their feet. So when he was born, the nurse came
Oh,
in to like get his
yeah.
blood work and like stabbed him in the foot, and I was
Oh,
like,
no.
"What's going-"
Yeah.
But learned that was new. It was
Well,
like,
he's not
it's
going to walk for a
devastating.
while anyway, so it's
No,
okay.
but it's
doesn't-
like the most
good.
tender part of the body.
Is the foot.
Yes.
Of all places.
Yeah, but it's the easiest to get blood
Hmm.
because they usually have the puffy arms.
Mm.
Well,
Oh.
they're baby fat.
Yeah.
Well, he's doing 24 hours of travel, so he should be having a great
I know.
time.
I was
That
gonna
sounds
say,
exciting.
yeah, on the plane that long,
Yeah,
it's gonna be worse than the 10-hour drive.
yeah.
Mm.
Yikes!
Especially because
Oh.
like their ears pop and everything.
Yeah. They don't know what's going on.
But you never know. Sometimes babies are really good on flights.
They're just so little, like he just eats and sleeps
Yeah.
And poops.
and poops. What are you gonna do?
It's good stuff.
But
Have you been up to anything
I'm
else?
jealous.
planning my wedding, which is less fun.
How does it feel to be a permanent host of this amazing podcast?
So surreal and exciting and life altering.
Oh my god, I know.
I'm getting used to hearing my voice through this little thing, but
It's nice, right?
Yeah.
it's strange. It's strange.
It's always strange.
What about you, Dave?
Yeah.
Cooling off from the summer. I know this is like the third month I've been talking about the heat and everything, but it's been very strange. It seems like as soon as fall hit, it went from hot and dry to cold and wet.
Yeah, except for
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, today is hot. So to make a liar out of me, because I had this all set up, and they're like, no.
Sorry.
So yep. But other than that, I'm preparing for a busy November. Going to be going away, with summer, behind us. Now it's time to catch up on meetings, conferences, and all
yeah.
that stuff. So in November, I'll be going to the New York Library Association annual conference and trade show in Saratoga Springs.
Jealous.
Yeah, that's going to be from November 2nd through the 5th. And Saratoga is really, really, really nice.
Yeah.
It's like one of the best places to have it. So great. And I'm going to be making many trips to Mrs. London's while I'm there.
I'm so jealous.
It's a great bakery,
Mm.
Can
coffee
you
shop.
pick up some pastries for me?
Yes.
Thanks.
I'll buy them and bring them back, whether or not they make it all the way
Oh,
home
damn.
without me caving in.
Right.
That will be the hard part. But then, and after that, I'll be getting ready to go on my vacation to Iceland. That's going to be in the middle of the month.
I want to go to Iceland.
Iceland's
Right.
great. Been there once before,
That's cool.
but I was only there for like a day and a half.
Mm.
So got all my itinerary. Been planning out. Going to go whale watching, see the Northern Lights. Going to rent a car, drive around the giant volcano, which I forgot the name of.
That's okay.
But it's like,
that volcano there.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
yeah, and I drove there the last time I was there, and it's surreal because, first of all, the airport's in the middle of nowhere, and you got to drive 90 minutes to get to Reykjavik, which is the capital. And there's like nothing in between, barely. And, it's in the Arctic, so there's like no trees.
Mhm.
The ground is flat. You see a little bit of moss and rocks. And it's so flat, but it's until you get to the giant volcano.
Huh.
Then it gets silly. And they also have a quasi-natural, what is it called again?
Spring?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's kind of like spring. Yeah, it's called the Blue Lagoon.
Oh.
Like in SpongeBob.
Yeah, but there's no pineapple under the sea. But it's it was accidentally made because they made the country is so cool because it's so cold up there, but nobody has to pay for heat because of the volcano. It has tons of geothermal, underneath the ground. So the heat just comes up from the ground. And they have this geothermal power plant, so their electricity is very, very cheap, too.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And when they made this giant geothermal power plant, that accidentally created the spring. And it's got minerals that are in the water there. It's so good. It's like you're in there for an hour. Your skin is so soft. It's the softest my skin has ever been. And it took off all the dead skin that I had on me. And my skin was super small.
Must be embarrassing
smooth.
Getting in with other people. You see
you like
scales coming off.
Dead skin.
You don't see the scales. It's kind of weird because the water is kind of like milky color and everything.
Never mind.
But it's not dirty.
But
it's not. But like your skin is so soft. It's like that for a month. You're like, oh my god, it's so good in there. I have some really cool pictures of it. But,
You'll need to take more.
Yeah. But, that's not so much happening in the past, but I got a lot of things in the future coming up in November. So I'm excited.
Very cool.
Yes.
Very cool. So this month, we are celebrating Spooky Podcasts Part 2. And we'll be sharing more of our favorite spooky podcasts. So you may be wondering why this month's theme is Part 2. Well, all you have to do is look at its definition in urbandictionary.com. Part 2 is an unnecessary or overlay bad sequel to a classic film. Usually the second film in the series. The term is derived from the intentionally superficial sequel, Hot Shots Part 2.
As a reminder, the podcast Sarah and I reviewed last year included My Favorite Murder, Lore, the Magnus Archives, Haunted Places, the No Sleep Podcast, and Old Gods of Appalachia.
Wikipedia states, Halloween is a celebration observed in many countries on October 31st, the eve of the Western Christian feast of All Hallows Day.
It begins the observance of All Hallowtide, a time dedicated to remembering the dead, including saints, or hallows, martyrs, and all the departed.
One theory holds that many of Halloween's traditions were influenced by Celtic harvest festivals, which are believed to have pagan roots.
Other academics believe Halloween began solely as a Christian holiday, being the vigil of All Hallows Day.
Celebrated in Ireland and Scotland for centuries, Irish and Scottish immigrants took many Halloween customs to North America in the 19th century, and then, through American influence, Halloween had spread to other countries by the late 20th and early 21st century.
Some people practice All Hallows Eve, including attending church services and lighting candles on the graves of the dead.
Some Christians historically abstained from meat on All Hallows Eve, a tradition reflected in the eating of certain vegetarian foods on this vigil day, including apples, potato pancakes, and soul cakes.
That sounds delicious.
Yum.
Popular Halloween activities include trick-or-treating, attending Halloween costume parties, carving pumpkins into jack-o'-lanterns, lighting bonfires, apple bobbing, divination games, playing pranks, visiting haunted attractions, telling scary stories, and watching horror or Halloween-themed films. And as podcasts have become increasingly popular, spooky podcasts have been increasing too.
I like how they say playing pranks instead of just being evil little monsters. So let's get on with our reviews.
My first review is for Let's Not Meet, a true horror podcast. So this podcast is hosted by Andrew Tate.
Can I just say, I was going to do something that was by Andrew Tate, and then I was like, hold on, is that Andrew Tate?
Not that Andrew Tate.
And I was like,
different
no,
Andrew.
that's not that Andrew Tate, but I'm not going to choose that one.
I was thinking that, and I was like, wait a minute. And then I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And I was right, and it's not that one, but it's a weird coincidence.
It's very weird. I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, you're good. The podcast is described as true horror stories written by those that made it out alive. First-person accounts narrated and produced by Andrew Tate in an anthology of terror and suspense. So all of the stories that are told are fan submissions that are read by Tate. The older episodes are only about 30 minutes, and they cover a few stories, but the newer episodes clock in around almost an hour each. So if you get bored, like Dave does, you can do the old ones. The show is broken down into seasons, and they're currently on season 9, and they're running 20-ish episodes a season. But the show has been going since January of 2019, so you have plenty of backlog episodes to get into. The creepy story where something could have gotten wrong, but the person made it out, is kind of what these stories are. They're those stories that people maybe tell where it was that one really freaky thing happened, and they know that they avoided a really bad situation. And Tate's tone of voice and his cadence kind of make it even creepier, because he's very monotone and he talks very slow. Kind of like me, super monotone. And it kind of adds a creepiness to all of the stories. So some of the stories that he has told on the podcast include the titles My Sister Dated a Murderer, A Drunk Man Crawls Into My Room, and Man on the Staten Island Ferry. And then he ends every episode with the line, Let's Not Meet. So if the story was Man on the Staten Island Ferry, he would end it with Man on the Staten Island Ferry. Let's not meet. He does occasionally have guests from other podcasts come on to read stories, but there's definitely no chit-chat. They get right into the stories. So if he has a guest, you probably have to read the description, because there's no...
oh, wow.
There is no chit-chatting on the podcast. They go right into the stories.
For all business.
All business, no play. It has a 4.7 star rating on Apple Podcasts with 6.4K ratings.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Very cool.
I like it.
Yeah.
And it is very creepy. I've listened to some of them. So,
Nice.
recommend.
Good stuff. So my first podcast pick for this spooky season is called The Wicked Library, a collection of dark tales hosted by Daniel Foydick. Daniel is the host of other drama podcasts, including the Private Collector series and Victoria's Lift, which he has been nominated and won awards for. He's a storyteller, narrator, and writer of stories, including A Little Light Gets In, which was featured in the Shadows at the Door anthology, and Buying America, which was featured in the anthology The Lift, 9 Stories of Transformation, Volume 1. This podcast is the winner of the Parsec Award, which is annually awarded to recognize excellence in science fiction podcasts and podcast novels. The Wicked Library podcast is a horror fiction show that features stories from new and upcoming writers along with independent and best-selling authors. Some of the featured stories are the works of Neil Gaiman, Jessica McHugh, Aaron Vleck, Edgar Allan Poe, and Owl Going Back, among others. This is a collaborative podcast, and there are many creators who work together to provide each episode, including composers, visual artists, and narrators, along with, of course, the authors and storytellers who provide the content. Composers include Nico Vettes, Dark Mood, Sigma Arav, and more, and visual artists include Alex J. Murd, John Towers, Trisha Martin, and Matt Andrew. Each episode features a dark tale of terror that is read by the host Daniel along with other voice actors such as Randy Berner, Skylar McElwee, Heather Thomas, Guy Forte, and many more. The show's goal is not only to bring listeners some great works of speculative fiction and horror, but also to showcase the talented people who are behind the stories, sounds, and art that is included in each episode. The show has quite a few episodes that are available to listen to, with 11 seasons of episodes. I'm not quite sure how many episodes the show has in total, but there are 207 available on Apple Podcasts, and seasons 6 through 11 are available to listen on the show's website, thewickedlibrary.com. If you're interested in accessing their archive season and bonus content, you can subscribe to their Patreon, information of which can be found on their website as well. The show also releases some extra episodes periodically for free that are mixed in with their regular episodes. Each episode is usually about 45 minutes to an hour or so, and the Wicked Library usually releases at least one episode per month, but sometimes more. The show currently has 4.7 stars on Apple Podcasts with 616 ratings, And I think this is definitely one to check out because you really get into the spooky mood with not just the stories told, but the narration, background music, and excellent audio quality. If you wanted to get into the spooky mood with these dark tales and ambience, you can find the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and wherever else you get your podcasts.
I like it.
I hate that I write so much.
That's what I like about it. No, what I actually like is 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like right in the middle. A little long, but not too long.
Yeah.
So my first podcast that I'm going to review this month is The Dark Histories. The Dark Histories podcast tells the stories of some of history's darkest moments, deepest mysteries, and strangest happenings, from large cultural events to smaller localized legends. Podcast host Ben Cutmore, who, along with Dark Histories, is a voice actor on the Do or Dice, a D&D podcast, and producer of the People's Republic of Moya podcast series. Aiming to write in an interesting and entertaining way while maintaining integrity to the facts, Ben believes history can be both informative and fun. Ben tries to create a unique show by discarding the common podcasting approach of copying and pasting of various blogs and internet encyclopedias, like could be accused of a lot, aka Wikipedia, and instead drilling deep past the noise and into original and legitimate sources. Aiming to uphold a level of integrity, impartiality, and objectivity that one might expect of any journalistic source, the host tries to hold himself to these high standards all the time. As a team of one, Ben does all of his own research and script writing. Rated 4.8 stars out of 5 with over 1,000 reviews, the podcast is released bi-weekly and generally lasts about an hour, making it one of the longer ones that I reviewed. I mean, the thing is, what I really like about this podcast, although, is that the host does all of his own research and he does his own writing. And he's got a really good voice for reading the stories in a manner that makes them sound scarier than they actually are. Because he's like a journalist trying to be scary, and he does a good job at it. So it's like telling the news with ominous voices and stuff. I mean, he doesn't really do ominous voices, but it's a unique approach. It's not like a fictionalized story or anything. It's literally like real stories that he's telling, and he makes it very suspenseful and scary and exciting to listen to.
Cool.
Although the show is longer than I typically favor, it doesn't feel like it's really that long because you really get engaged with it. It has a good cadence, and which makes it feel like it's shorter than it really is. I definitely recommend Dark Histories for anyone who's looking for a podcast that's based on actual history.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I love listening to spooky history.
Yeah.
Spooky.
My second podcast review is for Rituals. So this one is a Spotify original from Parcast, so you can only listen to it on Spotify, unfortunately. But it's worth it.
Yes, it is.
This one is it's co-hosted by M. Schultz and Christine Schieffer, who also host the podcast And That's Why We Drink, which you can get anywhere you get your other podcasts. Rituals is not, again, on podcast, so I can't see the amount of reviews. But on their other podcast, they have a 4.8 star rating with 21,000 reviews. So they are definitely well-liked. So take a tour through the dark arts with Christine and M. Every week, these two co-hosts and friends summon accounts of mystical objects, perverse events, and people who had an appetite for the occult. Into the Witch's Brew we go. Rituals is a Spotify original from Parcast. So this is their second show together, and Christine also has a third show with her brother Alexander called Beach Too Sandy, which is dedicated to bad reviews. And that one's quite good as well.
I was just listening to it on the way here.
It's not just Yelp reviews, right?
No, they try to do like Google reviews and like Common Sense Media and stuff like that. Yeah.
So it's very entertaining. So for Rituals, there are currently only 30 episodes as it premiered March of this year. But if you find yourself binging the entire show, then you could always hop on to And That's Why We Drink. And they are well over 300 episodes.
Didn't you review that last year?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah.
It's a great great podcast.
Yeah.
So on Rituals, some of the topics that they've included or covered include weather witches, the Fountain of Youth, tarot cards, crystal balls, and more. An article on podsauce.com said, Parcast Rituals is an occult bonanza loaded with historical and modern stories of alchemy, sorcery, spiritualism, witchcraft, Satanism, and more, and recommends the show for fans of Penny Dreadful, Harry Potter, and Full Metal Alchemist. All of the episodes come in right around 45 minutes. There's not a lot of banter like their other show, and because it's by Parcast, they do have a research team, so it gives it a little bit more structure, more facts, more information, and it's very good.
Really cool.
I'm going to check this out.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Hopefully I have podcasts, Spotify, so I can listen to the podcast.
I have to catch up on the last few episodes.
Yeah, I'm behind.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to have to start.
Yes, you do. So my second and final podcast pick is called Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories, a podcast that is hosted by Noah Daniels, JJ Craybill, and Kat Clark, who are, according to the show's Instagram, a couple of skeptics looking to hear real stories that might convince them of the supernatural.
Ooh.
Each episode, the trio interview guests who have had their own supernatural experiences with ghosts or other paranormal phenomena. Guests include fans of the show who have written in to share their story and have been invited on to retell it. Guests also include well-known pet psychic Nikki Viscanes and the Spirit Squad, which consists of paranormal investigators Brittany Crabb and Sarah Gray, as well as psychic medium Stephanie Strange. Brittany and Stephanie have been featured on the show multiple times, and recently they and Sarah had an hour-long special debut on the CW called Mysteries Decoded Spirit Squad, where they investigated the haunting of the historical Leonis Adobe residence in California. I love hearing ghost stories from real people, so this podcast is my bread and butter. It's fun to hear these stories and the reactions and questions from the hosts. The show currently has 4.8 stars with 188 ratings on Apple Podcasts and over 158 episodes available to listen, with quite a few bonus episodes available as well. Each episode usually comes out weekly on Mondays and are about 30 minutes to an hour long. And if you also like real ghost stories, you can listen on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts.
I do like the, so is it that the guests that they have on are the ones that actually experience the supernatural and they talk about that?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it's
That's
cool,
really
right?
neat. Yeah.
Yeah, it's my bread and butter, because, like, all I do when I go home is watch Paranormal Caught on Camera, basically. And it's just, like, clips that other people have recorded of, like, ghosts or aliens or cryptids and stuff, yeah.
Then you go to bed, get under the covers, and be afraid.
Yeah.
Have Mooch guard the door.
Yeah.
He would just purr.
Aw. Because he's a good boy.
He's a good boy.
So my last podcast for this month is The Evolution of Horror. The Evolution of Horror is a weekly movie discussion podcast that covers the history of horror cinema one genre at a time. From Universal monsters to 80 slashers, Alfred Hitchcock to Jordan Peele, this podcast is all covered. The show is hosted by Mike Munzer, a film journalist, producer, and presenter. Each week, Mike is joined by a different guest from the world of horror to explore the history of horror by delving into each subgenre over the course of several weeks. Guests are typically filmmakers, critics, or industry experts with the knowledge to look into a film and find its place in its subgenre, along with its impact and legacy on cinema history. Rated 4.9 stars out of 5 with over 500 ratings, the show has over 235 episodes to listen to. As I bump into my mic. So if you thought that the last podcast that I reviewed was long, you'll be surprised to find this one's even longer, with each episode averaging between 1.5 and 2 hours.
I'm very surprised.
I know. Because of the episode's length, I do not plan, obviously, to start from the beginning and trying to catch up on each and every one, but I'll be picking and choosing the subgenres that I like the most. And in fact, that is one of the things that I really, really like about this podcast, is that you don't have to listen to them all in order. But instead, you can pick and choose the topics that you really like. So, like, if you're really into vampires, you can actually find all the episodes on the subgenre of vampires and listen to those.
Yeah.
Or werewolves and things like that. And they actually also have another one. So, like with the vampires I just said, the last episode they released in September was on vampires. That was the 15th episode on vampires. So that means they discussed 15 vampire movies.
Nice.
To that date. So obviously, if you want to take an in-depth look in a subgenre like vampires, this is a perfect place to start. And another thing that I really absolutely love about this podcast, oddly enough, it's got one of the coolest websites I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's useful. It's not like just for advertising itself. I mean, it looks great. It's like this dark blood red background, and then it's got these blurry silhouettes of all the different horror monsters and creatures and everything that you see. So visually it's really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. But it's very, like I said, it's very useful. It's got blogs, essays, and reviews that are really entertaining, and they have a lot of great information. But it also, like I said before about each subgenre, it has them all sorted. So you don't have to go through, like you said, there's over 200 episodes. You don't have to go through all 200 to look for vampires.
Control F vampires.
You just go to their website and they have all the subgenres listed, so you can see them right there.
That's
and
cool.
I love it. It makes this podcast one of the favorite ones I've ever reviewed.
Wow.
5 stars.
Where can you find it?
Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and every other podcast service of your choice.
Sweet.
Yes.
So that is all the podcasts we have to talk about and review this month. But let's now move on to the library news and programs of note for October. Programs in West Hampton Free Library. Here are some October programs for adults.
USA Latin Style via Zoom. Saturday, October 22nd at 2 p.m., USA Latin Style is an exploration of the roots of salsa music and dance as it developed here in the Latin barrio of New York City. Learn how the mixture of various Latino-Hispanic culture came together with American jazz, swing, and disco to form the exciting mix we today call salsa. This interactive program includes basic salsa steps that you can take to the dance floor the next time you hear that Latin beat. This is a East End Library event hosted by the North Shore Public Library.
Art at the Library. In October, we will have work by Wendy Mclaughlin. Wendy is a local artist from Santa Mauritius who paints in acrylic, pastels, and watercolors. Her inspiration for her paintings often comes from scenes of the land and sea, as well as her own garden. Her work is recognized for its vibrancy, and it is beautiful, by the way.
It's just the stuff that's been being hung up?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
Also in October, the display case will show Ray Hahn's award-winning collection of carved decoys. Hahn, a West Hampton native, has been carving wood decoy ducks since his retirement.
Children's October programs.
Play Hooray, Wednesdays, October 12th through the 26th. Get ready to sing, dance, and play with Molly Mouse. Sign up for all 3 sessions as room is limited.
Arts and Crafts with Miss Jane. Thursdays, October 13th and 27th from 4 to 4:45 p.m. On October 13th, we will create a coffee filter bag craft. Celebrate Halloween at our Monster Mash on October 27th. We'll have a story, ghost craft activity, and candy to take home after the event. Costumes are welcome.
Once Upon a Cuento. Fridays, October 14th to 28th, 10:30 to 11 a.m. Join Miss Colleen, who is sitting right next to me, in storytime adventures across the Spanish and English languages. Storytime themes include animals, numbers, and colors, just to name a few.
Acompáñanos, Miss Colleen, en aventuras de hora de cuentos que cruza los idiomas inglés y español. Las horas de cuentos incluyen cuentos de animales, los números y los colores, para nombrar unos pocos solamente.
Spooky Sensory Play, Friday, October 28th, 1:30 to 2 p.m. Happy Halloween to all monsters and ghouls. Stick your hand into the witch's cauldron and guess what creepy crawlies are in the stew. All materials used are scent-free for sensitive skin.
So cute. Trunk or Treat. On Saturday, October 22nd, from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock p.m., And rain date will be Saturday, October 29th. Cars line up starting at 1 p.m. at the West Hampton Beach Elementary School at 379 Mill Road. The main event is from 2 to 3 p.m. and decorate the trunk of your car for Halloween and bring treats for the community. One adult family member must stay with the car to pass out treats while the rest of the family travels from trunk to trunk gathering goodies with adult supervision. Prizes will be awarded for best trunk. Participants must stay for the entire event and registration is required.
Trick or Treat Cupcakes, Sunday, October 30th, 2 to 2:30 p.m. or 2:30 to 3 p.m. Trick or treat for sweet decorations to place on your own cupcakes. Costumes are optional when attending this program.
Halloween Story and Craft, Monday, October 31st from 10 to 10:45 a.m. Happy Halloween! Come celebrate at the library with a spooky story and a ghost craft. Costumes are welcome.
Tween and teen programs for October include Journal On, Your Paths to Storytelling and Writing on Friday, October 14th from 4 to 4:45 p.m. Join author Antoinette Truglio Martin for an introductory journal writing workshop for young people. Writing life's journey fills creative and emotional needs. Words quietly express the moments, ideas, and scenes while memories stir and reflection reveals paths and gratitude.
Terracotta Pumpkins, Sunday, October 16th, 2:30 to 3 p.m. Turn a small terracotta pot into a pumpkin that doubles as a candy dish.
Yum.
Butterfly Effect, Wednesday, October 12th and 26th from 5 to 6:45 p.m. The Butterfly Effect is a nonprofit, community-oriented organization started by Tawana Fulford. Their program empowers young girls and gives them tools to achieve emotionally stable and self-confident futures. The Butterfly Effect project provides a safe place for young girls to be free, expressive, and successful, and they implement a curriculum that focuses on 4 key areas: healthy relationships, self-care, confidence building, and critical thinking. Join a meeting to learn more about the community service and fun-filled events they host throughout the year.
Ceramic Skull Paint Sesh, Friday, October 14th, 3:30 p.m. Bring your spookiest, prettiest, or weirdest designs to this petrifying program. Paint a scary skull any way you like.
Mario Kart Tournament, Friday, October 28th, 3:30 p.m. Compete with friends for the unofficial title of Mario Kart Champion.
The Wizards of Pod will be taking a short hiatus for November and December due to the holidays, but we will be back in January for another season of podcast reviews.
You're listening to the Wizards of Pod podcast, a podcast of professional librarians talking about podcasts. For more podcast news and updates, follow us on Twitter at PodWizards. You can find a link to all the podcasts we've discussed in the show notes. Music for this podcast was brought to you by Ben Sound Royalty-Free Music. You can check out their great collection of music at www.bensound.com.
We'll see you next year. Bye.
Bye. I just realized this whole time my mic was up like this, so when I was talking down, you could barely hear me.
I heard you.
I heard you.
Perfect.
You gotta scream into it. Screamo music. It's like that song. It's like,
Oh, even this one. Wow, with our jibber-jabbery beginning. It's taken almost an hour.
oh my god.
Disk space remaining for recording. 69 hours.